Hey guys, so it is a super rainy day out. I don't know if you can really even see that outside, but it is raining a ton. I'm so excited. And there is a coffee shop that is like right down the block from where I'm staying here in Portland, and it's called Case Study. I've been there on previous trips to Portland and I had their coffee. My older brother really loves all their like syrups and stuff, so he's always like, yeah, get a vanilla latte or whatever. And that's awesome. But last time I realized that one of their like specialty drinks is a jasmine matcha latte, which I love both of those things, but I was pretty confused or unsure about how they would go together, and I tried it and it is amazing. It is so delicious. I loved it so much, and so I want to bring you along just to show you the cafe really quick. I'm gonna get one of the matcha lattes again, and then I'm gonna go try to make some macarons that taste like this latte. So I'm gonna go to this tea store called Tea Chai Tay, and I'm gonna get some jasmine, I'm gonna get some matcha, and then we're gonna make some macarons. So let's go. So I kind of struck out there. I got a really good jasmine, but the girl was like, I don't think we sell our matcha, but seemed like really unsure about it. So she recommended some other places, but they're all like pretty far away from here. So I'm just gonna try to go to just like the local co-op or something and find hopefully some decent matcha. We will see. The adventure continues.
Okay, luckily for me, there were lots of different brands of matcha from some local tea producers at the grocery store. So now that I have everything, finally I can start working on my macarons. I have some shells and then a white chocolate ganache. I'm gonna start with my shells here, and then time-wise, oftentimes I make a ganache in advance of the shells, but with how rainy and humid it is, and this oven, the quality of the oven I'm using, it takes a while for my shells to dry, and then it also takes a while for them to bake. So I'm gonna actually make the ganache while my macs are drying and then in the oven. Here you can see, if you're new to my videos here, I am in Portland, Oregon, just for a couple months. I am actually a professional baker, though it may not look like that from this shot here. In my home kitchen, I have every tool imaginable, but here I do not. I only have a handful of things. So it's a little bit haphazard. I am using a hand mixer. I do prefer and recommend using a stand mixer if you have one. Otherwise, as you can see, the hand mixer does the trick in a pinch. I'm just waiting until my egg whites look really fluffy, and then I'm pouring in my sugar. This type of meringue is called a French meringue versus an Italian meringue, where you bring your sugar to 118 degrees Celsius and pour it into the egg whites, or a Swiss meringue, which dumps both the whites and sugar into a bowl and heats them over the top of a pot of simmering water. So you might see different recipes that have different things, different variations. My recipe that you can see below is a French meringue method, and this I find, especially for small batches, is really nice. Now, I am adding the color to my egg whites after my egg whites and sugar are all combined and have whipped up quite a bit but are not quite done yet. When you are making macarons, it is pretty important to be careful about over mixing and under mixing, and so if you are new to macarons, just be extra careful and extra vigilant, keeping your eyes out for every stage of the process. What we want here is called a stiff peak, so you'll know when you lift your whisk out of the bowl and it stands up, the meringue stands up in a really stiff peak that doesn't move. That is when your meringue is ready. It should look really glossy and it should hold its shape. Then I'm adding in my dry ingredients, the almond flour and powdered sugar, in about 3 different batches. At this stage, I'm just mixing in all of my ingredients, and then once everything has managed to make its way into this bowl, then I will focus more on what we call the macaronage, or deflating the meringue, the batter, until it flows like a ribbon off of my spatula. If any of those words or concepts seem confusing, make sure to check out some of my other videos I have published before about macarons for beginners, or tips and tricks for beginners. As you can see here, this is still way too stiff. It's not flowing off my spatula as it should, and it's not really disappearing into the bowl. We saw that just sitting on top of the rest of the batter. So I'm going to keep going till I get to the right consistency, and then I will pipe my macarons. While I rest and bake my macaron shells, it is time to get into the ganache, which is where this jasmine matcha flavor is coming into play. If you have never seen me make my white chocolate ganache before, it starts out with cream, and sugar in a small saucepan. But because I want to infuse my jasmine tea into the cream, I only have the cream in my saucepan at this point. I'm going to heat that up until it is warm, infuse the jasmine, remove the jasmine, and then add the matcha, which I will leave in there, both for taste and for color. It was a little bit difficult guessing what would be the right amount of matcha and jasmine. I've made many a matcha ganache in my day and many a jasmine ganache, to be honest, but never the two together. And I was really scared that either you wouldn't taste the jasmine or it would be way too strong. So I mostly guessed. If you try this, you can guess especially what you think would be good to suit your taste if you want to taste more or less jasmine. This ganache is a little bit more like a pastry cream than your usual ganache. It has some cornstarch, and so you just see me tempering that cornstarch, mostly to remove any lumps so you get the silkiest, smoothest ganache possible. I'm going to turn everything to the saucepan and just continuously whisk this until it thickens and just begins to bubble. After waiting about 30 seconds and cooking it just a bit longer, I'll pour it over my white chocolate, and after letting that cool down a bit, I will emulsify in my butter. Make sure your cream white chocolate mixture is just warmer than room temperature. If you were to touch this with your finger, you would not want it to hurt. You would not want it to be burning, but you would want it to be warm to the touch. Emulsify in the butter. If you see it looking like it's breaking just a bit, that's fine. If your immersion blender is doing its job, it will come together. If you are seeing that it continuously looks like it is broken, there are two main things that could be wrong here. This is totally fine. My immersion blender is going to emulsify all of that together. But if it continues to do that and doesn't come together, either your immersion blender is not strong enough, or you're adding in the butter when it is too hot. So I'm just going to let that cool. And now that my macarons are out of the oven, baked and cooled, I'm just going to add a little bit of decoration. As I mentioned, I do not have all of my tools with me. I do not have my regular gold luster dust with me. I do not have all of my paintbrushes. I do not have all of my everything. And it has been a little bit of a challenge trying to create things that I envision with what I have on hand. I'm not going crazy and just buying duplicates of everything because I really don't need to do that. Anyway, I am just going to show a couple different ways that I added a little bit of kind of a fun gold look to the outside of these shells. I really love this deep green. I believe this is the Forest Green by Americolor. And I really love this color, but it is certainly more of a matcha than a jasmine. And I find that especially the Dragon Pearl Jasmine tea, in my mind, it's kind of a higher class. It is fancier. It's kind of, I mean, sometimes I drink it every day, but it feels a little bit more elevated, a little bit more sophisticated than just a regular jasmine. So to me, that is really why I wanted to add in some fun gold, just to feel fancy, just a little bit more like something special, unique. And I also didn't want to take away too much from the flavor, so I didn't want to get crazy. And I wasn't entirely sure what I could do to highlight both the jasmine and the matcha without going overboard. So anyway, this is what I ended up with. And what I have that I'm painting with, I have some food safe paint brushes that are clean, obviously. And then I just mixed a bit of extract, a clear extract, into my edible gold luster dust. I let the gold decoration on my shells dry just a bit, and now that everything is ready, I'm going to go ahead and pipe the filling into my macarons. I mean, come on, look at these colors. Look how amazing that looks. And the taste, was just so lovely. Highly recommend that you try this, especially if you are a tea lover. I am so grateful that Case Study played around with these flavors. I never would have put them together, but I really loved it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here on my YouTube pastry journey. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. I'd love to see you again next time. Till then, have a wonderful day. Bye.